I got 3 quotes from Brad Stevens. One explains himself. One might be my favorite quote from him ever. And one will hit you where it hurts. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT Karalis. Recap the madness every game, every practice. Primetime Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising business, how we finished. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them Monday through Friday right here, all for free, available everywhere podcasts exist. It's on YouTube. You can watch the show. You can get into the comment section and share your thoughts with me. I'm John Karalis, beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And, I've been doing this job, a version of it, for about 20 years now. I've written a couple books about the team, so I got you covered when it comes to the Boston Celtics. So I would love it if you subscribe to everything. Today's show, all about Brad Stevens. Once again, the Celtics held a media availability. So once again, 3 quotes from Brad Stevens. Later on, I'm going to end it with honesty, trying to talk around something there. It's a quote. It hurts hearing the way he talks about what the Celtics are going through. The bigs, he has a quote on the bigs and the center situation that honestly might be my favorite Brad Stevens quote of all time. But I'm going to start with the explanation. Brad Stevens explains himself, explains the motivation behind these trades. And now I've talked about this all the time, but there's some discussion out there about what's the real motivation. And so here's this is 2 quotes, not all the same thing, but it's a kind of one addresses the other. It's not a sequential quote is what I'm telling you. I'll just play it for you. You'll understand.
I mean, the second apron's why those trades happen. I think that those are pretty obvious. And the basketball penalties associated with those are real. We've all talked about that. And but we were fortunate because we liked the guys we got back, and I think that that's one of the things that, we are excited about. But yeah, like Drew Holiday is I think he stamped his Hall of Famer candidacy here, if he didn't already have it. And we'll look forward to watching and again rooting and following him from afar. But he's as good of a person as you could ever have in your building and as part of your team. And KP, he fought some of the stuff health wise in the last 2 years, but when he played, he was awfully good, and we think he'll be awfully good for Atlanta this year. And so again, yeah, those are not easy trades to make. Those are not easy phone calls. Obviously, those guys have been around the league a long time. They knew the CBA. They knew that was a high likelihood that they could be part of a move, and they were communicated that before. But it's still hard when you are. But again, we will miss them, and we're thankful for them.
The repeater tax is a sort of basketball penalty, right?
Sure.
So resetting the repeater tax, is that a priority for you guys?
Like I said, there's benefits to that, but it's not the priority, right? The priority is continuing to make sure that we have, our future firsts and all these things that are in play for us so that we can then use those to build.
The last bit right there I thought was really important. The repeater tax, getting out of the repeater tax is beneficial, but not the priority. So that, I think, directly addresses. Now, of course, we all know that GMs lie and all of that stuff. He said it pretty directly. He didn't talk around it. And so it feels like he's telling the truth about at least that. The repeater tax, getting out of the repeater tax is not the priority. And starting with that part, I feel like the Celtics are in a spot right now where you've got Jayson Tatum obviously out for most of, if not all of, this upcoming season. But I will say that he's making tremendous progress. Brad Stevens said he's making tremendous progress, but they're not putting a timeline on it. But we'll see when, where, wherever Jayson Tatum comes back. This season is very clearly a gap year. So whether Tatum comes back or not, we're getting to the point where even if he's fully healthy, I question whether he would want to come back. I think there would be some benefit to just getting him some NBA minutes and getting his body back used to it. If you want to use, let's just pretend he comes back in February and you want to use March and April as a sort of kind of like reacclimation, and it's not about playoffs, it's just getting his body back into NBA action. Sure, fine. Minutes limit, give him 15, 20 minutes, let him kind of get back to things, recover, and then get him on his way over the summer. I think that's a fine plan too. But all of this means that the Celtics are in this thing, this retool or whatever. Again, that's going to be the last segment of what Brad calls this. But there's to get under the repeater tax, they're going to have to make some drastic moves. Tatum will be back. And another thing that Brad Stevens said was, we're not rushing the timeline. We're not going to rush him back, but the expectation is when he does come back, he's fully back. He's fully himself. So the Celtics are going to spend this year, in another quote from another piece. I can't play all the quotes. Although I suppose I could play the whole 25-minute thing and just call that the podcast. But another thing that he talked about is, we're looking, basically, I'm paraphrasing, we're looking for the guys like the Luka, Garza, Josh Minot. We're looking for the cheap guys who didn't get an opportunity, the guys who might be undervalued, all of that stuff. They're looking for all of that stuff as ways to put cheap role players around Tatum, Brown, Derek White, and not have to move Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and go through a full-on, absolute, no question rebuild. I know there's a temptation to say, just do it, but you have Jayson Tatum here at 27 years old. You don't just do it and then keep Jayson Tatum around, right? You don't, if you're blowing it all up and Tatum's going to be 28, 29, 30 maybe by the time a new crop comes around him. I think the way the Celtics are approaching this is, in 3 years, 3 years from now, the Celtics will probably be in a full-on Utah Jazz-esque rebuild. And, in 3 years, Jaylen's going to be 31. Jayson's going to be 30. And they will still be good. But that's going to be like the magic window where their timeline moving forward no longer matches the Boston timeline, but it does match somebody's timeline. Jaylen and Jayson, will be the potential missing pieces to another team. And that's when the Celtics go, all right, give me all the picks, all the swaps, all the young players. And here's your Jayson Tatum for 3-4 years. Now you're going into the second apron and we're going to rebuild. So you don't duck the tax. Now you just wait for it to naturally happen when that comes around. So I believe the second apron is the number one motivator. And he was flat out. It's like that's why Porzingis knew it. Holiday knew it. Everybody knew it. The agents knew it. Everybody is clear. They knew what they were doing when they got Holiday and Porzingis. They knew that they were going all in. They pushed all the chips in. They gave everybody contracts. I've said this before on the podcast. We could all see this coming. I definitely saw this whole scenario playing out, minus obviously the Tatum injury, but they saw the team that they wanted. They got it. They gave everybody contracts. They probably were hoping for one more run. That's why Porzingis is on the expiring. They gave Holiday a little something extra as a reward, knowing that he's going to be the first one out probably. So everybody involved knew the second apron penalties were going to tear this team apart. We knew it was going to be either this year or next year. And the Tatum injury made it this year. But this is not a surprise. This is not a surprise. The basketball penalties, as Brad has said, this is the second time we've heard it. The basketball penalties are real. That rebuild that I talked about whenever it happens, like 7 years out. You cannot have frozen draft picks. You cannot have picks at the end of the lottery, or at the end of the first round. Brad talks about it. The flexibility of having all your picks, having all of your future assets. That's what this is about. And that's why the second apron is so damaging, and why they had to, one way or the other. If Jayson wasn't hurt, Holiday would still be gone. I guarantee you that. No matter what the outcome was, championship, they could have ridden on the duck boats and then come back to Boston and said, thank you, Drew Holiday. Here's your ticket to Portland, or whatever. It would have been a different trade probably. But point is, Holiday was gone no matter what. That's obvious now. And it might have been a different set of circumstances. It might have been the Holiday Hauser scenario, but the second apron, they needed to get under that second apron one way or the other. And so that's it. It's not about the tax. It's about the apron. It's about the basketball penalties. Now, this has left the Celtics a little, let's call it, thin on the front court. I'll come back with Brad Stevens, and honestly, maybe my favorite Brad Stevens quote of all time when it comes to this front court. That is coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. If you ever just wish that managing your money was easier, I know it's tough. You got money all over the place. You're spending things. Maybe you don't even realize where you're spending your money, but Monarch Money can help you do it. Whether you're growing your savings, planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO. You get full visibility and control over your finances. It's more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. Track all of your accounts with you and your spouse. Investments, spending, it's all there in one place. So you're not just managing your money, you are building your wealth. So if there's a specific kind of like, do you think you may be ordering in a little too much? You get a little too much delivery. They can track all of that for you and give you a little bit of a sense of, okay, this is where your money's going. Maybe you like to play on your phone. You're making in-game purchases. This is only $2.99. That's only $2.99. And that all adds up. They can help you take care of all of that stuff. You can see it all in one place, and you can take complete control of your finances. You do that with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. The Locked On NBA feed has 2 podcasts. I'm on Locked On NBA Game Night. That's 7 days a week. We'll be focusing a lot on Summer League, big Summer League performances, big stories from Summer League. The Locked On NBA podcast, 5 days a week, has you covered all the big stories around the league. So basically, listen to Locked On Celtics first, listen to Locked On NBA Game Night, maybe at lunch, and then on your way home, Locked On NBA. Whole day covered for you. Plenty of great basketball podcasting coming up. All right. Brad Stevens was asked about the bigs. I don't think I'm overselling this quote. It's one of my favorite quotes from Brad. Just the honesty behind it, and for the Simpsons fans, channeling Principal Skinner.
What are your thoughts on the guys that you currently have on the roster and like their ability to be kind of holding down the fort in the front court?
We're going to find out, right? I think we had an incredible luxury with Luke and Neemias as our third and fourth centers, because I think they were both much better than that. And I think Luke will have an amazing impact in San Antonio, and I think Neemias has a great chance to be impactful here. We've always liked Luka Garza from afar, and we think that he has, the real physicality that's necessary on both ends of the floor, especially on the glass, in addition to his ability to score. And then, you got Amari, who's down there now, and we think that he has a high upside. And then you can flex other guys into that center role. Tillman is more of a 4 probably, but he can flex into that center role. And so we'll have to do that by committee. That group will not be the group that people will single out based on paper on what they've done with their careers thus far as our strongest position. But it's up to them to prove it otherwise.
Prove me wrong, kids. Prove me wrong. Yep, I hope you understand why I love that quote so much. Brad's like, the question is, what do you think of the bigs? He's like, yeah, we're going to find out. On paper they suck, but got to prove them wrong, right? Yes, the fact is that on paper, this could be the worst front court in the NBA. One of the worst front courts in the NBA. I've said it before on the podcast. I think I said it yesterday. Brad has work to do. He needs to figure that out. And maybe he doesn't care to figure it out. The Simons trade, the George Niang trade, I think both of those could be a way to target a big. Maybe you just get under the second apron and you target. Maybe there's a way to just slip under the second apron. You just don't guarantee JD Davison, and his $2 million and change comes off. Celtics are under the second apron, and then during the course of the season, somewhere in December, January, February, trade deadline, that's when you package Simons and Niang and picks and somebody else, and you go deep sea fishing for the big fish. Maybe that's the plan. I think one thing I did a breakdown on Boston Sports Journal of where the Celtics are financially, and there's a way to get under the first apron. And if you get under the first apron, you have the full mid-level to use. If you use it, or if you use more than the tax mid-level, you get hard capped at the first apron. So it would make things a little tight, but you have it. You have the full mid-level, and who knows how they use it, but you have it, and you can use part of it. So there is an outside chance the Celtics could be players in free agency. Maybe they just go into this season with Luka Garza as the starter, and you say, okay, buddy, you wanted more opportunity than you had in Minnesota. Here it is. And he's got some talent. He's got some upside. He's a big guy. He's a strong guy. He's not the greatest defensive player in the world, but hey, this is an opportunity to learn, right? So I don't know what they're going to do with this big man rotation, but you got Garza, you got Neemias Queta, who was at the practice facility going through. He needs to get better. He definitely needs to get better, but he's got size, some rim protection. Who knows? Maybe he finds another level and, corrects. I think a lot of I saw him working on some lateral stuff. He's not like the best, like stop start kind of speed guy. So hopefully he can spend the summer maybe increasing some of that agility. He maybe Williams, maybe I know he's on a two-way contract, but we'll see. I think Summerlee's going to be a fun, wild overreaction kind of thing. But we'll see if he can. Maybe you upgrade him. Maybe maybe he shows that potential, or maybe he just goes through this season on the two-way. No need to upgrade him now. You do it next summer, and you sign him to a multi-year deal that way. There is a best case scenario where Garza figures some things out. Williams is good enough to be on a guaranteed contract, and all you need is maybe Nimi sticks around as a third string center, and it works. Maybe they play themselves into trade value, and they become part of a deal that brings in a better center. I don't know, but The bigs definitely have a lot to prove. Brad Stevens is right. They have a lot to prove. And I just, one thing that stood out to me was Brad talking about Joe Mazzulla and his team having, some interesting kind of wrinkles that they're going to try at Summer League. Summer League starts, this is on the 10th. So this is the July 9th show, which is Wednesday. So what is it, Thursday? They play on Friday, I believe. So there will be chances to see what Joe Mazzulla is cooking, right? They're gonna try some things. Brad kind of threw it out there. They're gonna try some things. I'm watching for maybe zone. We'll talk about Summer League, later on and get a little bit more into what we might want to see out of Summer League. But that could be an opportunity more than the players. It could be an opportunity to see what are the Celtics kind of cooking up. How are they going to address this big man situation? How are they going to cover defensively for a front court that does not look very good defensively? What a difference. What a difference in this team. Ugh. All right. That leads me to the expectations. Brad Stevens, this one's going to hurt. The expectations he has for this team, this one, I'm not a fan of it. We'll talk about that when we come back. Hey, thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. If you're an everydayer, if you're with me Monday through Friday, I do want to thank you. The show is going to stay Monday through Friday for the next couple of weeks through July. Then in August, we go to 3 days a week. August and September, 3 days a week. So a little scaled back, but still here for you. More podcasting than you're going to find anywhere else. Free, available everywhere. So if you're not an everydayer with me, please become one. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. I would love to see that. Now Brad Stevens was asked about his expectations for this team. And, well, I'm just going to play it because I think the way he phrases it, this one was like a punch to the gut or somewhere else.
My expectations are always the same. Compete like hell to win the next game. That's always going to be it. That will always be it. And that's the way that we're going to try to put our foot forward. We've got some new guys. We've got some guys that will have to take on extra, extra in their roles. But we believe in the guys that have been in the building, and we look forward to getting the guys that haven't, and all working together to try to create a team that functions well together and plays hard as hell. And that'll be it. I've said many times that the North Star for me is winning championships, and this is without question. When you trade guys like Drew and KP, there's some retooling going on. But the one thing that when I was coaching, when the term rebuild came up, I thought it was a crazy term. None of us were here before, so it should be build, right? You're always building and growing towards something. And for this group, we've got so many guys back that are really good players that's not going to be part of the lexicon in our building. And that's the way we're going to focus moving forward.
Oh, man. He said rebuild. Oh, man. That's that right there. When you drop the R word, the basketball R word, rebuild. And we're not going to call it a rebuild. We're retooling. We're just going to call it building. And my expectation is compete like hell to win the next game. That's a team that's not going to be very good. Doesn't mention a championship. He said the North Star is to win a championship. But you remember the North Star was used by ships navigating a long journey. And so, yeah, the North Star isn't guiding you on that little trip. Yeah, we're just gonna run out. Like we're trying to win a championship now. No, that the North Star has gotten you to being a contender, right? So the North Star is what sailors use for the long road. So Brad, the way he phrased it is this is tough. This is tough to hear from him because there's always that like the Celtics just came off a year where everybody was expecting them to win a championship. They won one 2 seasons ago. And now it's like, well, compete like hell, and the front court's got a lot to prove, and we're just going to call it a build. Okay. All right. It's very interesting to see what this team is going to be. There are like positive outcomes that are possible. The Celtics could hit on Garza or Minot. One of those guys could pan out. One of the draft picks could work, right? Hugo Gonzalez might be more of a contributor. Maybe Williams is ready to give you some backup minutes. These guys are like, Williams is older. He was a 4-year guy, right? Gonzalez is 19, but he's very mature, been in that Real Madrid system for a long time. Maybe he finds a route into, second, third string type of guy coming in spot. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible that a couple of these guys hit, and Jaylen has a great year. Derek has a great year. Pritchard becomes, with the opportunity, becomes like a 20-point a game guy. That's not outrageous. He has the potential there. Hauser's sticking around. He can chip in. The Celtics will have to outscore a lot of teams, and it won't go great, but are they going to be a 50-win team? No, maybe not. But are they going to be above 500? I think they could be a 46, 47-win team potentially, which would put them right in the middle of the Eastern Pack. I don't think they're going to fall out of the playoffs. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, too good. They're too good to just be on a complete crap tank team. They are not the Wizards. They are not the Jazz. They are not the Celtics of old either. They're not the Cavs. They're middle of the pack. This is a middle of the pack team in the East right now, with the potential for some surprises. But the Celtics aren't trying to go for a draft pick. This isn't tank head into the lottery and hopefully the 12th overall pick is going to change your fortunes. No, they're not. When they tank and drop into the lottery, they're going for a top pick, top 5 pick, top 3 pick. It is a retooling. It is trying to figure out, like I've said before, I said I was on 98.5, and so Brad Stevens is going from clearance rack to clearance rack to clearance rack, trying to figure out accessories for the 2 good suits that he owns. And that's basically where the Celtics are. You still own some good suits, but you still need shirts and ties and belts and shoes. And that's where the Celtics are. They can't afford shirts and ties and belts and shoes, cufflinks, socks. They have a limited budget for that stuff. You got money invested in the suits. Now you got to dress that stuff up. And maybe the clearance racks have some finds where you can go out and look good. Maybe you don't look as good as some of the other guys, but you can still go out and look good. And that's where the Celtics are. And maybe they have to shop for new suits at some point, and that's where they will end up, because every team ends up there now. This is not prolonged run NBA anymore. The Warriors ruined that. The Steve Ballmer potential spending ruined that. The second apron, this system is designed to prevent the Golden State Warriors and the Clippers, even though the Clippers haven't won anything, from those types of owners coming in, having their own building, printing money, saying we don't care about the tax. We're gonna pay. And they said, okay, we're gonna create this second apron, and we're gonna create real basketball penalties. And if you can spend, but you're also gonna be screwed when it comes to future drafts. The Celtics do not want that. And so here we are. they're going to try to extend the window with Tatum, with Brown, with Derek, and see if they can hit on some things this season, and then see where they are with Tatum's injury and the finances and all of that stuff. So this year has very clearly presented itself as we'll play along with you, Brad, build year, but we'll see what they're building towards. Summer League is going to be a big, I think, indicator, and we'll be talking about Summer League. We'll be talking about all that stuff. We'll be here Monday through Friday to make sure you are covered with your Celtics talk. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch a show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Share your thoughts. Share your feelings. And then I'd love it if you shared the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.